Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Beyond Influence. Today, we have with us Kay Brown, who is a social media manager turned into an absolute social media phenom, it feels like. She finds herself in every place in which poppin' things are happening. She is the co-host of the Betches podcast and has done an incredible amount of growth in the social space. So we're really excited to have her today. Kay, how you doing?
Honestly, I haven't heard my government name in forever. Kay Brown. It's always K York City. So hearing Kay Brown, it's always like, yeah, I think I've met her once or twice, but I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's really funny. When I started to, do my research about you, I realized that I didn't know exactly how to put the first and last name. Like every time I put in K, it would come up K York City. So I had to do a deep dive on the internet to find your last name.
I know. I like to keep it that way because I'm like, I feel like my friends can know it. So it's only located like on my LinkedIn and obviously like articles if some things are out and then on Facebook. But that's really it.
When did you start going by K York City?
When I moved to New York in 2012. Like I just changed my Instagram name. Like I just got an Instagram. And so I was like, oh, fun. I live in New York City. Let me just put this as my like username. And then it stuck. And now that's what people call me out loud. It's very bizarre, but I love it.
That's funny. You never think like when you create a username on a social media platform, this is going to turn into your identity. And
no,
like, so at least you picked a good one though. Like, yeah,
right.
It's solid.
Did you ever think about switching it when you left New York?
So I got a Finstagram just because I was like, I don't want to rebrand or anything because it had been so long. It'd be weird to change something just based on my location. But I got a Finstagram, California, just in case I decided to change it. But I don't use it ever. I just have it like hiding somewhere.
Just in case. It's really funny. I thought about the K York City thing, and I think the first time that we ever got in touch was online. It was because of the Netflix kind of pop-up event that was going on in New York. And so in my head, you were a New Yorker. So when I just went to New York. I was there just a few days ago for IMS. And as I was doing that, I was told to bring along some creators that we could kind of all just get, a nice networking event going on. And one of the first people I thought about was you. I was like, oh yeah, like K York City. She has to be in New York. And I looked up
false advertising.
I know, like, of course. So I looked up the most recent things that you were doing. And I saw that you had just gotten your convertible Mini Cooper wrapped pink.
Yeah.
Which, we'll definitely dive into that. But when I saw the pink convertible Mini Cooper, I was like, yeah, there's no way she's in New York.
Yeah, no, and it's been so long. It's really weird because I get invited to a lot of events that are in New York or whatever, because people assume that that's where I am, which I feel like maybe my location's in my bio. I can't really remember. But I do get that all the time where friends will be like, so are you in LA full time? I'm like, yeah, it's been like 3.5 years. It's been a minute.
Yeah, we'll make this entire podcast a brainstorming session to come up with your new LA associated handle.
Yeah, I mean, well, we have California, so that's like sort of it, but that's like the Finstagram. But it's truly, I'm just holding it on the side in case I, have a snap one day and I'm like, I have to change it right now.
Just a lot of amazing things going on with the podcast, all over social media. What's the most exciting thing you got going on? What are you excited about nowadays? Obviously out in California, that's, now a less recent change, but what's exciting? What's going on?
Well, today is my last day at my current job, which super exciting. And I'm starting a new job in July at this company called Breakaway, and it's a music festival company. They have festivals all over the country. The biggest artists like Zedd, Tiesto, Chainsmokers, they're all there. And I'm coming in as a VP of their media department there, starting in July.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. I'm excited because, I love music festivals in general, and I like working with talent and artists and that kind of stuff. So I think this is going to be a fun switch up from what I've been doing. So I'm really excited to get that going. But I also have a month off, which I don't know if you guys have had like a month off recently, but people don't usually. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? What do people do? I don't have any like massive plans right now in the month of June. So it's like, I guess I'll just go on some walks, do things during the day. I don't know what that means, you know?
It's funny because I was just in Hawaii, right? So every
Same.
episode, every episode I pick up like my thing is I throw on a new hat and a new hoodie. Like that's my ongoing thing in case people haven't noticed yet. But anyway, because of that, I always try to put the sneakers that are matching in the back. And today, as I was thinking about it, I started with the sneakers and I was like, what am I going to do with these sneakers? And obviously I got these crazy colorful ones in the back.
I saw them. Those are cool.
Thank you. And so I was like, you know what? Let's go with something that I think is symbolic. And obviously I just came back from Hawaii, and you and your parents just came back from Hawaii as well. Yeah. How was that trip? I know now you have a month to go. You have nothing to do in this span of time, it seems like. What was that experience in Hawaii like? It seems like you were introducing your parents into your social media content.
Yeah, I mean, my parents, something about your parents that you kind of have to remember is that they are just starting now to live life, like because when they were younger, they were having us, they were raising kids and this and that. And it was a much different time and different environment and culture then than it is now. And so, my parents had never been in a helicopter before. They'd never been, my dad just left the country for the first time last summer, and they spent like a month in Europe. And so they're living life for the first time. So you kind of have to have that patience with them, but also it makes you feel really cool in general, like experiencing these things with them and them seeing all these different places. But because for us, we're always traveling, especially, if you're in reality TV or in the media space, you get these experiences that most people don't get to. So bringing my parents into that and watching them have fun was actually the best ever. And I wouldn't have traded that in for anything.
That's super fun. Yeah, it's funny now seeing, I feel like my parents go cooler places than I do. They're always like, oh, I can't get back to you. I'm on a cruise in Mexico. I was like, weren't you just in Hawaii like 2 weeks ago? I'm like, I'm in St. Louis meeting with some random company.
The retirement life is crazy.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think it is fun to be able to share that experience with them, like traveling. It was funny. I took my parents to just like a wine tasting thing with my wife and I. And it was funny because we had the realization that in the last 5 years since, we had kids, we actually hadn't hung out solo with my parents and just had time to just be adults and connect and, being able to share experiences like that and things they wouldn't normally do. It's like you rediscover your parents and like, hey, they're cool. They can hang. Like that's pretty fun. So,
you don't realize how cool your parents are until you grow up.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I remember them like in my head, when you're a teenager and you're younger, they're super cringe. They don't get it. And now I'm like, oh, they're really cool. We could have been friends this whole time. And now like, obviously I'm really close to them now, but before growing up, it was a very different experience. So I am fully aligned with you on that.
That's awesome. How'd they like the helicopter tour?
Oh my God. My parents were like mind blown. Though I was a bit nervous because I had done helicopters. I've done helicopters in like Vegas and stuff where it's like open space, but we're going through like the Nepali coast and through these mountains. And I'm like, ooh, all I need is like one little gust of wind and that's it. So I was a little panicked for a bit, but just watching them take all their pictures, really bad pictures and really bad videos. Like nothing was in focus, but they were like, we're getting it. It was very fun.
Oh, that's, I don't know if your mom's the same way. My mom's like the random moment where she just gets really introspective and like starts to like tear up. She's like, I'm just so happy to be with you. And like,
yes,
no, that's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah. I get, getting to share those things with your parents. I've always wanted, my mom's not really like down for being part of my social media stuff like at all. I'm still at some point trying to get her involved in something. So hopefully it happens. But I think it's really cool like that parents get to see that progress of, who you were and who you are. And obviously now that social media and personalities are such a big thing, like, I mean, like you're kind
Yeah.
of, you're a famous person, right? And
Oh, please. I'm adjacent. I'm celebrity adjacent. I'm like in it, but not, yeah, I think me and my co-host Jared, he is one of the funniest people on the planet, but we call ourselves adjacent scum because we're the ones talking about it, recapping everything, doing like the roasting of stuff. So we're not necessarily in it. We're just around it. Reap the benefits without actually having to expose ourselves too much.
It's always, I feel like people who, have you and your parents ever had a recognized moment where like you're just walking through the streets and someone's like, oh, this is you? Have y'all had one of those yet?
Yeah. Back home, there was a girl, like two girls came up to me because they had listened to my podcast. I mean, I've been doing it for like 6 years. So we've built a pretty loyal following with that. And so that was like a cool moment. But I honestly don't think my parents know what I do. They don't know how to access the podcast. They don't know. They're like, so where do I listen to it? I'm like, don't worry. You don't need to, don't worry about it. Don't worry about listening to it. It's just us talking about The Bachelor. They don't watch The Bachelor. So I don't think they know what I do, but they do like the fact that if we're home or like I'll take them and we'll get like a free meal somewhere. If I just like make some Insta stories, they love that. Yeah. They're like, well, can't you just get us, post something about it? They don't know what that means, what that entails, but they think that's just what comes along with it.
Yeah, I've had some funny conversations with, we had Jason on just a couple weeks ago, and he brought up the whole, being famous or kind of having a following, like you get these cool perks, and even his friends chime in occasionally, and they're like, oh, like, is this what like being an influencer is like? You just get a bunch of free stuff. Like, I want to do this, and so it is really funny because not a lot of people have a lot of insight into what's actually going on. That like if I go to a hotel and I do something or I get like a free room, it means I have to like, I don't know, post 3 or 4 times a day and like take a bunch of pictures and send them, a bunch of the content and blah, blah, blah. Like a partnership that gets you something free is actually, you're doing some work.
Yeah, it's not, well, my friends know that if there is something like that involved, if we do get something or a comp dinner, I'm like, FYI, if I need video things, if I need this or that, you got to participate. This isn't like, and you have to know that, all right, we have to take a pause so we can get this, this, and this, which can kind of be annoying when you're on vacation. Like that's not really what you want to do, but it's also the easiest thing in the world. So like sucking it up and doing it is worth it. So they know the rules that they might have to be in something, participate. They have to be in the content. Also, like sometimes I tell them, you should also tag people and post some things just to give it that extra added value as well. So it makes it look better for me because then all my friends are posting too.
I definitely get benefit out of hanging with Kwame. I know all his angles, so when people stop him, I can take the best pictures for him on the street.
That's
like,
a good
I'm
friend.
I'm like, okay, got you left side, medium height. We're good.
That's a good friend.
It was funny. We got stopped by these folks in Seattle, and it was like a whole baking class, and they literally ran outside in aprons, offered their bread to him, and like they were so amped. It was amazing. It was like the best moment. It was such a feel good.
Wait, so Seattle? Are you still in Seattle right now?
I am in Seattle. Yeah, I just my wife and I just bought a house actually.
Right.
And yes, we bought a house in Seattle. So we're like right on the very edge of like Seattle proper. Far enough to where we can, venture into the city in 10 or 15 minutes. But also we kind of like get that peace and that balance. Like we have a deck, which is like having a deck in Seattle is like kind of a big deal.
You've reached peak adulthood with a deck.
I have, you know what I'm saying? And nowadays I'm like very excited when I see like Home Depot or Lowe's ads, you know what I'm saying? Because now I'm like, what can I build?
I know. The reason I ask is because I do have one thing planned for this month. It's only a few days, but next weekend I'm taking the Amtrak Coastal Starlight from LA to Seattle. And I don't know if you know this, but it's like one of the best trains you can take. And it's a 36-hour train from LA to Seattle, like direct, but it has like the observation, like car where you can see the windows. And so you're going down up the coast of the highway. So you see the ocean and all the all the nature and stuff. So I got a private room, which I'm gagged at the price. For one way, it's like $1,000.
Oh, geez.
That's crazy.
I was like, okay, well, this is an experience. So I'm doing it by myself, and I'm going up there, and I have a girlfriend meeting me, and we're going to see a Sounders game. But I'm excited. I have my own bed and table, and I have my own bathroom, shower, the whole thing. So it'll be a nice experience, but expensive. I'll let you guys know how it goes.
I could vouch for that train ride. My wife was living in Seattle when we met, and I was doing the Portland to Seattle kind of thing, and took Amtrak. It goes by Chambers Bay. It's funny. I can see Amtrak. There's the tracks run out by my house here in Vancouver on the way from Cali all the way up to Seattle.
Oh, wow.
So way easy
Cool.
to go by. Yeah. No, but it's really convenient. So yeah, $1,000 is wild.
I mean, it is first class. That's because I bought my own room. It's not that expensive, but because I have my own
36
room.
hours is a long time.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody's sitting in the normal seats for that long. That's torture.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I used to take the Amtrak from it'd be Philly or Delaware to New York, and it was almost $200. So I think
expensive.
Just based off, yeah, you know what I mean. So based off of the length of that journey and a first class ticket, I think $1,000 makes sense.
No influencer perks here. This is raw, straight out of my pocket.
Yeah, this is K Brown's hard-earned money.
This is my hard-earned money. So I'm excited, though. It'll be really, really fun.
That's awesome. So for our listeners who might not know about the podcast, I'm curious. You said you've been at it for 6 years. What was that journey like? One thing we try to share with our audience is how do you come up as a creator? How do you get started? How do you navigate all the trials, tribulations, the learnings? I'm sure in 6 years you've learned a ton. There's been crazy experiences. Maybe walk through that journey and just what was that like?
Yeah. So the podcast is called The Betchelor, and it's essentially a recap podcast about The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelorette every week. But we also started incorporating Love is Blind or other popular shows that might come up that with time constraints, because we can't cover everything. And so maybe it's if it's off season of Bachelor, we can cover Love is Blind, etc. But I started doing it back in 2018, end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And it started out with the three co-founders of Betches. They we had part of our blog at Betches was Bachelor recap articles, which were the biggest thing that we had done. I mean, everybody was reading them. The clicks were crazy. And so we were let's turn that into a podcast. They started it, did it for a year. And then because we started adding so many extra things, I was I can take over. And so I brought on one of my best friends. His name is Derek Paith, and he was on the show. And so he was able to give a male perspective, but also a perspective from somebody who was on it. And then I had the female fan perspective right there. And so it became really successful, especially because our second year, him and I doing it together, or maybe second season, he was actually on Bachelor in Paradise, and they allowed him to do the recap podcast as long as he didn't talk about, the behind the scenes. He was only allowed to talk about what was on the screen. And the downloads just shot up, and it was so fun and building this audience. And now I host it with this guy named Jared Freed. He has his own Netflix special, 37 and Single. He's very funny, massive comedian. And him and I have this great dynamic. I've known him for years. But the thing that has been so rewarding about this and the journey through it is developing this really loyal, following, not following on Instagram, but listeners, the people who are invested in actually listening to it. I don't need to post a link on my Instagram story. They're already on it. You know what I mean? They know it's coming. They get the notification. They know what day it comes out. And they're already messaging me within an hour of it releasing, being oh my God, I just listened. Here's my thoughts. And I think podcasting is such a different experience with your followers, fans, whatever you want to call them, because you're not just, hey, here's an Instagram post or here's a funny video, like it, share it, whatever. It's you're actually in their head. They have their headphones in. You're playing it. They're playing it in their car. So you're like surrounding their whole like mind, which gives it a very intimate connection. Which so you feel like you're friends with them. You know everything about their life and vice versa. Like I love that closeness that I have with these people, and then it just makes them even more loyal. They're going to listen to whatever because they feel like they know you. And also one of the biggest things is like you need to respond to DMs and stuff. I know it gets like tough and there's a lot of them, but if you take like 30 minutes out of each day and respond to the people who are writing into you, that also brings them closer because it's not like you're some unattainable person that's just talking at them. But yeah, let's have a conversation. You have some opinions about like Love is Blind or The Bachelor or thoughts or theories. I want to hear them and I'll respond back. And I like reading that. And it gives it just everything a better relationship. So I think the journey from the beginning until where we are now has just been so great because there's people that have been listening since the beginning. And I've even like met a lot of them and done weird things. Like this girl messaged me because I posted a video. My mom sent me a text. She was like, are you going to Taylor Swift's concert? And I was like, no, I didn't get tickets. And she was like, oh, I thought you would for your connections. And I was like, okay. It's like the Kris Jenner thing where they're like, why don't you just call Taylor up? And, you know, that sort of a thing. And so I posted that as a joke. And this girl messaged me who had been listening forever. And she goes, I have an extra ticket. Do you want to come to Taylor Swift with me in LA? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I went with her and her husband. He drove. We went to Taylor Swift and it was the best time ever. But she was a complete stranger. Like I did not know her, but it was so much fun. And now we have this like great relationship. And I think that's what comes with developing like closeness with the people who are actually listening and investing in you. Because if they're going to invest in you, you should also invest in them.
I think it's amazing for people to hear that. And I do think podcasting is such a powerful format. And for the reasons you said, which is, you're in people's ears, they develop a relationship. The format of the content is, it's not just kind of endlessly scrolling and seeing a flash of someone's face. It is deep thoughts and kind of unpacking emotions. And no matter how you try to hide who you are on a podcast, it's going to come out. Like the real you, give it a couple episodes and it's going to like, okay, that's Kay in her true colors. So I'm curious though, like as you came up, you don't have this huge fan base yet, or maybe it's the folks who listen to the blog. Like, were there, as you came up, was it quick success? Was it kind of a slow burn? Were there moments when you're like, hey, is this worth the energy? Like, I'm curious in those early days, what was that experience like? Because a lot of creators starting out, there is a lot of feeling like you're shouting into the void or you don't have followers. And it's like, should I just bail on this? This is unnatural. What am I doing? Did you have any of those moments?
I'm going to be fully transparent with you because no bullshit. I was working at a media company with producers at a company that already has, 2 million plus followers, very dedicated. So I'm not going to lie to you. It was not as hard as other people trying to come up from nothing or start from scratch because we already had the followers. We already had the fan base coming from the articles to this. Obviously figuring out how to promote it because, Instagram changes all the time and social media changes all the time. So back then, you don't know really what the best way to promote a podcast is. Like nobody knew that we needed to have video on all the time. Like we didn't know any of that. So it was definitely like a learning curve that way. But we got very lucky already having the in-house media people, cutting the podcast, all the sound and everything, putting that together for us. So we would just, do our research, write our outlines, watch the shows every week, and somebody took care of it. But it was, it's not, I know it's going to sound crazy to complain about, but it is hard to watch an episode every week, not because you're not watching it for fun anymore. You're watching it like, I had to think about it. I'm like, okay, she said this. What's funny about this? How can I turn this into a joke? So it's no longer, oh, let's get together with my girlfriends and watch The Bachelor. It's, I have to watch this tonight. Please don't talk unless it's commercials because I have to know what's actually going on. There's people listening, depending on me to do it. And there are days when I can't go out and do things that might be like go to an event because I have to watch The Bachelor.
They're like, what happened to fun party Kay? Now she's like buzzkill, like, shut up, we're watching the show.
No,
I got to pay attention. I'm
what did
taking
she
notes.
say? And no, yeah, I had to take notes and all that stuff. So again, it was much easier because we started off already with a company that had this traction. But there are moments where you're like, okay, why didn't this episode do as well? Or if the episodes of The Bachelor aren't very good, we don't have much to say either. So it kind of depends on that, how many people are watching. There's certain seasons where people aren't really watching anymore. I get so many people saying, I don't watch the show, I just listen to the podcast now. Like I don't need to watch it because you're telling me what happens anyways, which is a cool feeling. But growing the company though was difficult because I was like one of the first, I was like 7 or 8 in the company. And now, they just got acquired by Lad Bible. So it's been a massive journey growing that and launching all the podcasts that they have at Betches.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite the journey. I think there's a few things that you brought up. I like want to resurface just a little bit when it comes to like your passion becoming like that next level. I think what a lot of people have to realize is in order to turn your passion into, funds or something that like powers you, or something that like helps you elevate your career, whatever the case might be, like it takes a considerable like mind switch to really focus on, you know what I mean? Like you do enjoy it. Like I know like when I tried to start doing more wedding photography and things like that and really wanted to get into photography, like it became a bit strenuous. It was like
it turns into work. It's no longer like, oh yeah, I'll just go shoot this wedding. It's like, oh, I need to shoot this because like I'm trying to build it. It's work.
Exactly. That transition is huge. When I went from playing soccer for fun to trying to become a pro, it was like, nah, I got to wake up at 7 a.m. and go for my, 5-mile run. Like it's no longer just like show up to the park and kick the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that is something that people really, really have to like be considerate of in trying to make something like social media into their career. Like there's a big curve there that you really have to focus on and put a lot of your energy into. And then like when we think about your growth and like how you stepped into, the Betchelor podcast and really took off, and obviously I've been just working at it for quite a while. You've seen a big evolution in the space, like of not just podcasting, but social media and not just social media as well, reality TV. A lot of things have come up. A lot of things have changed. How have you seen your own brand really kind of change as you went along with this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my own brand, that's a really good question. I guess my own brand has changed because I sort of left the full-time. I left Betches full-time and I went over, I was working at Gap for 3.5 years. And so I went from like this media company where we were growing all the time and this and that to a very corporate world. And so then I just have like my podcast as my creative outlet. It's an interesting thing going from having that big backing of a company where you're the face and you do all these different things to now I have to work extra hard if I want to grow my social media. And going back to what you were saying with things evolving and having to, when your passion becomes work, because I've always been passionate about social. I've been doing this. I mean, I was coding my MySpace layouts. I was doing like that. This is who I am as a human. It just didn't exist then. And I don't know. It's just, it turned into work. And then I don't want to do ads on my social unless I have to, unless it's like great money. I don't want to do that because I also see the other side of it now as somebody who was working on the brand side. And I'm like, okay, well, if this person posts something for, say they post something for Abercrombie, well, Levi's isn't going to work with them now. So you're having to think so much about what goes on your page and then being family or like, what's it called? Brand safe. So like, I'm not posting ass pictures or anything, but I do curse and I'm partying and I'm doing like, saying all these like funny jokes that might not necessarily be brand safe. I don't want to have to limit what I want to post because to me, I want this to be fun. I'm already working in it full time. I want my stuff to be fun. So I think removing myself from that and being like, this is my fun thing. I'll do ads when I want, or like if I feel like it's right, or it's it could be a good experience, I'll do that. But other than that, I kind of shifted away from my own growth, and I don't really care about it. I don't know. I'd rather like my podcast be successful, or like that's what I care about, not necessarily my own. Like I also get really, I don't know about you guys, but the internet's scary. And putting yourself out there, especially as a person who comments on these things, like who knows what everybody's going to talk about. So I'd rather just lay under the radar with the followers that I have right now who are dedicated and that are cool, that I like, and not have to worry about it. So I've kind of taken a step back from doing my own social media as work.
I love what you said, and so much of it resonates with a lot of conversations that Kwame and I have about starting a podcast. We also have a media company at our back, and shout out to David, the editor. He's amazing, and the whole team. But there's elements of putting yourself out there. There's what will the internet think? I think there's the
That's
trade-off.
why you can't find my last name anywhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, but it's very real, and trying to navigate public perception, like trying to be funny, but then also like I'm supposed to be CEO of this company and make sure that we're showing up really well. And Kwame and I talk a lot. How do we make it fun? How do we make it interesting? How do we don't want to create highly controversial content? Probably, I don't know, but it's interesting because I think you sacrifice some viewership potentially, or some attention, but you do it in the way that you're proud of, the way you want to show up, the way you want to engage with your audience. And so, but it's really interesting. And then trying to dissociate, your own social media or follower count. And I think what reassures me is the things that you mentioned, which is the moments when people reach out and they say that they really appreciate it, or were inspired by something, or it made their day better. Or when particular guests reach out and they want to come on, and you're like, wow, this person wants to come on our podcast. Yeah. It's an amazing feeling. And I think it helps balance some of those, the nerves, the trade-offs, all those things you have to decide. I'm curious, like, do you feel like you have the support of, or you had the support of Gap, I guess? And, as you go into this new job, you are a creator, you have your podcast, you have all this stuff going on. It's really difficult to balance. Do you feel like that's easy for you to navigate? Is it hard? Do you feel like you're making trade-offs or having to communicate really well to make sure people feel like time is well spent?
Honestly, Gap was like the best experience because from the beginning, I was talking to the hiring manager, the recruiter who was ever negotiating all this stuff. And I was like, has everybody seen my social? Because I'm not going to be one of those people that go private or like are afraid to post things just because, they work at a certain company and this and that. I was like, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And I was like, and I have a podcast. I do it at 7 a.m. before work hours. So I'm not disrupting work hour time. So they have me for the full 8 hours every day. So I've never heard one thing about it. Never one thing that was like, hey, can you not post this? Or why are you in makeup today? And it's like, well, because I had an interview this morning, that sort of thing. Nobody's ever said anything about that, which is really nice. And I think if you are going to start a podcast or be in this realm, but also try to be, girl boss, I feel like you need to make sure that the company that you're working for, like, be super transparent up front, because if you lay down the law up front, then is what it is. They agreed to it. They knew what they were signing up for at the end. And then this other job at Breakaway that I'm going to be going to is great because I'm going to be hosting a podcast with them. They want me to be very much face forward. It's a music festival, so it's all about fun. I'm a music festival girl. Like, this is part of the job. They know I have my other podcast. They know, and again, I'm never going to have that get in the way of what's that their job, the job that I'm doing for them. So it's I think it's just finding that right balance and making sure that you're doing what you need to do to make sure your full-time job isn't being hindered, but also that you're able to like do your other passions. Cause I think that's important too. If you're not able to do other things in your job, what the are we doing? You know,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Like I can't just sit at a computer on Zooms all day and then you expect me to just only think about that. No.
I think that's a great lesson for creators who work and just people in general. I think you've hit on something. There's so much dialogue around work-life balance or having outside interests. And, at the end of the day, it's communication and setting out clear expectations of these are the commitments I have. This is the life that I live. I have kids. I have hobbies. I play sports. I have other things. And, clearly communicating as leadership that this is what my expectations are. Let's meet in the middle and let's make sure that we can both, be happy and productive and get the most out. Because if you weren't able to succeed in your podcast, you felt like you had to give up a part of yourself. You're not going to give it every day. You're not going to show up and you're going to resent there. You're probably going to leave. And so I love that point, not to make it about, corporate life, but I do think a lot of creators work and have jobs and they probably struggle with how they're spending their time and resentment and all this. And so I think finding someone who supports you, communicating well, it's something everyone probably could get better at.
Yeah, I've been very lucky with that, with Gap and with Breakaway, obviously. So I'm very excited, and everybody do that. Just make sure that they know, and if they don't like it, then you'll find somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is a good balance between, your personal brand and how you present yourself and all these things. I think an interesting part about when I became a public figure was I will admit, like I toned myself down a tiny bit. I thought it was necessary because I'm pretty, I like to try to think I'm funny. You know what I mean? So I consistently put out more just like big energy content back in the day. And I feel like once I became more of a public figure, I felt like I had to tone it down a little bit to kind of appeal to the audience that I had. Because, you obviously know your audience analytics, and my 96% women following is not going to be just as excited about the things that I used to share with like, me and my guy friends typically. And so there's an interesting balance of that. And so finding a way to marry those two is like absolutely essential to being like, I would say, happy. You know what I'm saying? You can't give up yourself completely. You do have to hang on to those things. So I'm trying to find like this happy reemergence spot of just like still being jovial, still being consistently just like laughy and jokey, but also like being socially conscious of the things that are around me.
I mean, just to even like challenge that a little bit, I would be your audience. I see a lot of influencers. They're like, what do you guys want to see more of? Who cares? What? Last time I checked, this is my page. So I'm going to post whatever I want to post, because then I don't feel like I have to, okay, what am I going to put on my story today? I'm just going to do whatever I usually post on my story, what I like naturally do. If you're doing what you naturally do, you never have to feel like you're working at it. And then at the same time, it's like, I would rather have a smaller following that's like, hardcore fans or friends or whatever that actually like myself no matter what I post, than people who are going to be like, no, I want this instead, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, we can do both, but at the end of the day, it's your page. It is your Instagram, it is your TikTok. You should post what you want to post, because they shouldn't dictate that for you. I understand wanting to like, give them that, and you can, but at the end of the day, it's your page.
I'm glad you said that. As he was saying, I was thinking about that, I obviously see all of Kwame's content, and, the most endearing that you are, the most that people like see the real Kwame and love. It's like, it's the wandering through Trader Joe's and being like, I don't understand what's going on with this thing. Or like rapping on the street. It's letting your goofy out. Like, we know you're goofy, but you I don't think you need to hold that back. And I love that, just being you and not not worrying about it. I do think that the people who love you and love you who for you are, like, I just think let that out. So I love that advice. I love that you call that out, because I think more people need to just say, hey, be you. That's okay. Whatever that means. And the people who are following you, if they like you for you, they're going to hang around. And the people that discover you, it's going to be authentic. It's going to be real. I mean,
people come for the content. They stay for the personality.
Yeah.
Your personality is your Instagram story. Your content is whatever's on your grid. They come for your content. They stay for your personality. If they like you, they're staying. And so, like, Kwame, you're funny, you're fun. Who cares? Yeah. You know?
I can dig it.
You have a great personality. Also, I wasn't trying to throw shade at you at all. I was just being like, fuck everybody, post whatever you want.
Nah, I know you're not. We
I
love
was defending you, honestly.
Yeah.
We're going to see a whole new Kwame next week. Just wait. He's going to like emerge from his shell.
Fully goes rogue.
It's going to be like Country Garth books or something. You know, what he was like when he came out as like a pop artist, like randomly.
You never know.
Well, you know, shameless plug. I mean, since you're transitioning over to your music festival, role, just keep in mind, I will be releasing an EP at some point. So, you know, in case you need any new artists.
Wait, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Very
I don't know
cool.
if you saw. Yeah, I did this Take a Seat, Rap a Beat thing with a guy I connected with online, and it was dope.
I feel like I did see this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so when I did, like, I did it for fun, obviously, and then I threw it out to my audience and said, "Hey, would y'all like listen to, I don't know, a song if I put out a song?" And 91% of my audience said yes, and I was excited about that. Right.
Yeah.
And so I put out a little note that said that like, I would like to, put out something. Is there any way that I can grab like people to work with me? And what? There's a cop at my door. Hold on. This is so random. Give me one second. Like, he should notice that I'm talking on a mic. One sec.
A cop?
It just got spicy.
I have so many questions right now.
All right, hold on. No, now I feel like y'all said something juicy and I missed it. What did I miss?
No, nothing juicy.
Are you
but I have a lot of questions.
You need to go away for a while.
This is actually this is the part that I was telling y'all about that I was hiding the whole time.
Surprise! I'm under arrest.
Oh man, talk about timing. My alarm went off earlier because we have a motion detector. And the ADT told me that my dog is so small it would never get caught on the motion detector. And yeah, I got a motion detector, and obviously he's just like, he's scurrying around the house, and now he's just laying there like he loves waking me up and then going to sleep. But anywho, back to the conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, we were at, where were we?
You were talking about how you just asked your followers if they would listen to the song.
Yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, I asked a bunch of my followers if they would listen to the song, and 91% said yes. And then I put out kind of like a bat signal to say that, hey, like, would anybody want to do start a project with me? And I was really lucky because a couple producers reached out, and then a girl who sang a girl who's actually just on The Voice.
Wow.
I connected with her as well. She connected me with another producer. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's just go all out. We're only going to do this one time. Like, I'm not going to just do something like just kind of show up to someone's house and record a song for 15 minutes and then leave. It's like, if we're going to do something, let's put the most into it, make like a 2 or 3 song situation, and then drop it, and then just exit if we want to, you know what I mean? And that'll feel like a feel good project. Like, we spent some time on it. It was a passion project. We did it, and then whatever happens.
See, that's really cool. And also at the same time, the reason why 91% said yes is because they like you. You know what I mean? It's because they like you as a person. And one of the things that I've seen a lot coming up with influencers and creators and et cetera is people who show the process, like founders, like CEOs of their own things, showing them doing coming up with their product, being like, okay, we're coming out with this. This is how I'm making it. This is how I'm like the process of creating this entire brand. And you end up liking that person. So you're automatically going to want the product because you like them. They're going to support you because they like what you're putting out, or because they like you. So they're going to, whatever you're putting out, they're going to take. And so I think that's a really great like takeaway from they liked you, so they want your music. So, keep going with that. I think that's what it is. And like, you can also do like the behind the scenes of it and like the process, or do like little vlogs of like, okay, day in the life of recording an EP. And I think that's just, that's what makes a lot of these like smaller brands that are coming up on TikTok, etc., successful, is because people like the person doing it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point too. And like the whole point about sharing who you are and being genuine, I think once you have that following of people who really enjoy you and what you represent and stand for, it does make all of those kind of adjacent things that you go do easier to go, because these people come on the journey with you. I think about like Mark Rober, who obviously has like 25 million followers. He's like a science YouTuber.
Yeah.
He created Crunch Labs, and then he created like a huge charitable giving campaign with Mr. Beast for like planting trees. They raised, I don't know, $50 million or something insane.
God.
But it's so many people like him, what he stands for, kind of education, putting kids first. He's active, talking about his son with autism, and is just like a great dude. And anything he does, you're like, I want to support him. He stands for the right things, and he makes really funny and cool content at the same time. So I love that. I think, letting people in on who you are builds lifelong customers no matter what you're putting out.
And they trust you. They're going to trust
100%.
you because they're seeing it happen.
Yeah.
Because why would you record all this and put out all this, but it not be real? So
Yep. I can dig that. And so Kay, as we wrap things up, and I think what was really cool about this conversation is, we have this entire list of questions we would want to ask, and we didn't get through anything because we were just having a conversation and you were just giving us the raw you, and that's what the people want. And so I do love that, but there's a couple of things I want to make sure that we touch on before we get out of here. Question number one for you is, as someone who has now probably partnered with a bunch of organizations or companies or whatever you want to call it, some brands, have you ever had a partnership or kind of a little campaign that you've done that was just like you really loved and really remember?
Yes. Immediately, I worked with Taco Bell, and not only are they, if you haven't seen their marketing, it's a 10. They think out of the box. Everything is like funny. Everything is very relevant. They use relevant people. They do relevant things. I think their marketing in general is some of the best I've seen. And I think it was 2 years ago in 2022. If you're not a fan of the Mexican pizza from Taco Bell, I was. And I've tweeted about Taco Bell like a billion times, but they took it off the menu. And there was this whole like outrage all over the internet about removing the Mexican pizza. And they were like, okay, oops. So let's bring it back, but in a cool way. And so what they did was they partnered with Doja Cat and Dolly Parton, and they did TikTok Mexican Pizza, the musical. And it was the first 10-minute TikTok that you could watch on TikTok. It was the first 10-minute, and it was a full-blown musical recorded on an iPhone with a whole cast. It was like a Broadway show. They had the two girls that wrote the music for Bridgerton, the musical, on TikTok during 2020. Write the music. They also just wrote the music for the new Moana coming out on Disney. They're like they're like 22, 23 years old. Dang. Yeah. I mean, they're incredible, like beyond. They also won a Grammy for Bridgerton, the musical.
Wow.
That was just on TikTok. It wasn't even a real show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
that's actually
they got
crazy.
them, and they asked me to be part of it because, fun fact, I'm a musical theater major, and I was doing musicals my whole life professionally, etc., before I got into media. And so I got to be in it as like one of the principal cast members, and we like recorded this for, I think it was 3 days in New York. And the woman who recorded it was like the original like shot on iPhone person. So she recorded this entire thing on her iPhone, and it was unbelievable. It was so much fun. And you had Dolly Parton in it. Doja Cat was in it. The guy who made the original TikTok that went viral for the Mexican pizza going away, he was in it. It was the coolest thing ever. And it was so successful. Honestly, again, Taco Bell, if you have a chance to work with them, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah, shout out to Taylor Montgomery over at Taco Bell. It was he's a CMO over there. It was funny. My buddy just sent me they launched like a crunch wrap with of like 10 times larger than normal Cheez-It inside of it, and I was like, these guys, whatever you think about Taco Bell, their marketing team goes so hard. It's like insane.
Fun fact about the Cheez-It is that they brought me in over a year ago. They invited a few of us. Oh, they invited all of us who were in the musical who lived in LA, and they flew a lot of people out to the Taco Bell headquarters in Irvine. And we got to go there and we did a whole like tasting thing. And one of them was the Cheez-It, crunch wrap, but we weren't allowed, we signed an NDA. We weren't allowed to talk about it. But that we tried it like a year ago. And so they finally came out. I was like, that's crazy.
Never in your childhood dreams are you like, I'm going to be an early taste tester under NDA eating a crunch wrap with an oversized cheese.
Imagine. Listen, the people...
Or in a Taco Bell musical.
No. Yeah. The people who save the sauce packets are the backbone of our country. I'm just saying.
Team mild sauce.
Yeah. I like the hot, but I like the flavor of the mild. Anyways, we've got off topic.
Yeah.
Taco Bell was the best collab that I've ever done.
Love it. All right. And then segue to, you've done a fantastic collaboration with Taco Bell. Now, obviously, you are very experienced in your brand collaborations and you do awesome things. So if there was a brand out there that you could tap on the shoulder and say, hey, I'd love to work with you, who would that be?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would have to say, it's a brand. I would want to do Duolingo. Sorry, but that also is like peak marketing. And it's not because people are like downloading the app, but now they know about it. Duolingo, I say it like it doesn't mean you're actually using it, but you know about it. And that's incredible. And I think their marketing team is so good as well. I would love to do something with Duolingo.
Yeah, those guys, their social media is amazing.
Beyond.
I'm trying to remember her name. The head of social over there was at Social Media Week, and she spoke and just their stuff crushes so much. They did like this whole BBL campaign and stuff. Oh gosh, it's so funny. But,
they think of everything and they jump on things right away, and it's so smart. Man, I wish more companies did stuff like that and just chilled out on the fact that they feel like they need to be serious and just be fun. People just want to be entertained or educated, and that's that.
It is funny thinking about brands pivoting from just this traditional, like, let me show you the features and benefits of my product. Let me show you like aspirational athletes doing great things. I think like, seeing a running ad where someone falls down in the ice or something would probably like get more entertainment and views and be more endearing to people at this point. So it's interesting how that whole landscape has shifted from trying to pump yourself up and be super professional versus now it's like, how do we entertain? How do we engage? How do we make people love the brand versus just think we're aspirational?
Also, Marc Jacobs, their marketing is beyond. Marc Jacobs is a 10 out of 10. Their stuff is really unhinged, and like you don't even know it's an ad. You're like, what? Why is little Uzi Vert sitting in Marc Jacobs' office just on the computer? I'm confused, but I'm engaging. I'm watching, and then I see it's a Marc Jacobs ad. Everything they do is also very, very good.
Awesome. Well, K York City, K Brown. What's the last one?
California.
Is talent of many names, but only one just genuine, amazing personality. So Kay, we thank you so much for joining us today on Beyond Influence. We learned a ton from you. And like I said, we wanted to touch on a couple of things, but it's even better when we just get to go with what's going on, because it means we're just having a good time and we're just learning from you. So thanks again for taking the time out and joining us. Thank you, everybody, today for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed like we did, and we're excited. Once again, thank you. And
Thank
we will
you
see y'all.
guys.
Yeah, for sure. We will see everybody next week.
See you next one.